So for these high waist crop wide leg pants, you're going to be needing a basic bodice front, a basic bodice back, and also a front and back basic pants pattern. And I have video tutorials on how to create all of those patterns, and I'll make sure I leave them in the description bar below. So make sure you go down to the description bar to get the information on these video tutorials. All right, so what we're going to be doing first is we're going to be working with our creating our the high waist portion of the pant, and we're going to be using our basic bodice to do that. So what I want you to do is place your front basic bodice on top and line up your waistline. So your waistline that you're on your pant and your waistline here on your basic bodice here. I want you to line those lines up and do the same for the front. For the back. Okay, and let me add that you will not be needing the bottom portion of this pattern. You won't even need all that. But yeah, so I just wanted to let you know that if you don't have a bodice that has the hip portion on it, don't worry because you don't need the hip portion of the bodice. All right, so what I did was I cut away my hip portion of the bodice. So go ahead and cut away the hip portion of your basic bodice on the front and the back. And make sure if you're using your original bodice pattern, trace it on another piece of pattern paper or craft paper before you go cutting it up and everything, because you don't want to mess up your original pattern. So always transfer your original pattern to another pattern paper or craft paper before you get started on another tutorial. So after cutting off that hip attachment, now what I'm going to do is place the front pattern on top of and pretty much line up the waist portion here with the waist portion on the pants pattern and do the same for the back. All right, so your pattern should look something like this. And what I'm going to be doing is what I did was I made sure the centers lined up with the inner seam here, just like you see here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up 2 inches because I'm going to make that the waist portion of my pants. I'm going to make it a little bit higher than your typical pants. So I'm going to go up 2 inches, and then I'm going to add the seam. I'm going to add some seam allowance, about 5/4 inch seam allowance, or a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and go ahead and I said 5/4. I meant 5/8 seam allowance or 1/2 inch seam allowance, and go ahead and mark that going up from this waist point here, going up along the front and the back bodice. All right, so it should look something like this. Now all I'm going to do is just draw a line going straight across here, meeting up with the side. It's just going to be a 90-degree angled line going straight across on both the front and the back. All right, so now that we've now that we've created a line going straight across, you will not need any of this additional bodice up here. So go ahead and get rid of that, erase that, or get rid of that. And I'm going to show you how to adjust the darts, like with the patterns, with the basic bodice pattern and the basic pant pattern. The darts, I believe I have the darts a little bit different in my basic pant pattern from my basic bodice pattern. So I'm going to show you how you can pretty much adjust that. It's really simple. And also um if your basic bodice doesn't match your pant as far as the width of it exactly, that's why I wanted you to make sure you line the center line up with the inseam of, or the crotch line and the inseam of the pant. So make sure you line that up to use that as your guide, because then we're going to be adjusting everything else. So let's go ahead and get rid of all the stuff that we don't need, which is all of this upper portion here of the basic bodice. All right, so as you can see, after erasing everything, it should look something like this. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure that you cut off the dart where it needs to be cut, like, because we're going to still sew our dart, but we still want it to be the same width of the darts in the area that we cut away, like we cut into the dart. So Don't try and change the dart and make it pointed at the top. Keep this dart exactly how it is right here. And now, as you can see here, with our front pattern, we're pretty much equal as far as the darts are concerned. Now what you want to do is just draw a curve from that line. We're going to draw a curve down to, or a line down to close up this here. We're going to draw a line here to the waistline to go ahead and close that out. And I didn't curve it. I just went ahead and just drew a straight diagonal line just to simplify it, because pretty much that accentuates the curve of your waist, right where that curve is in your waist. So it's just like pretty much adding that portion of the bodice where your waist curved to that, where your waist is curved on the portion of the bodice. We're transferring that curve of that waist to the pant. Now for the back here, my darts are a little off, and um, of course I'll have to close that line there, create that line there. But what I want to do is for the back here, I want to adjust my dart. So what I'm going to do is, it'll be much easier for me to adjust it from here and adjust it on the pant. So I'm going to draw a straight line. I'm going to find the center here, the center between these 2 points here, find the center point, and then from that center, draw a straight line down. All right, so as you can see here, I've created a line. Now what I'm going to do is create a line from on this same line here. I'm going to create a line going over. I'm just going to match the points. I'm going to match the um, dart points here. I'm going to draw a new dart from this point here down to the center of that line. And you want to make sure you transfer the length of the dart, the original dart here, transfer the original dart length and measure it connecting to this center line here. So transfer, and I'm going to show you with a ruler how you do that. All right, so as you can see, I have a ruler here, and I have my beginning point here, right here at this point here of this dart, the dart from the upper bodice portion, and I'm going to measure down to where my ruler meets whatever the length of the dart is. I'm going to measure. Now this ruler is not a real life, it's an inch, like, it won't measure the correct amount because this is just a picture of a ruler. So for instance, my dart measurement was 4.5. So if I go start off here and I measure down, I want to make sure that 4.5 meets that center line, and then I'm going to draw my new dart. Now, like I said before, this ruler is not it's not the actual correct amount or the actual correct length. So it's the 4.5 is not going to measure the same length as my original dart, because this ruler is just a picture, and I'm just kind of wanting to show you the visual of what you should be doing with your actual ruler that will actually measure the correct length. So you want to make sure that measurement meets right at that line, and that's where you will create that point and draw that new dart for the pants. All right. All right, so that's my new dart, and I went ahead and drew a line from the side to connect the side. Now, all right, so now after doing all that, your new high waist portion of your pants should look like this. And I'm going to get rid of the waistline lines so you can really see it. All right, so this is the new high waist portion of your pants. Now we're going to go ahead and create the wide cropped portion of the pants. Now to start off, to do that, we're going to square out the pants. So we're going to go to the hip portion, the hip line and the crotch line, and we're going to go draw a straight line all the way down to that hem. All right, so what I went ahead and did is I've created a new um, hem as well once I squared out everything. So I created a new hem. Now you can go ahead and get rid of all of this portion of the pant because we will no longer be needing that. All right, so now that we've done that, now what you want to do is find the center of the crotch line. Find the center of that line and draw a line straight down to the hem. Find the center of the crotch line, draw a line straight down to the hem. All right, so now what you want to do is cut along this line here and then cut along this line here until you get to, don't cut all the way across here. Stop at about half of an inch or a quarter of an inch maybe from the inseam and from the side seam or the outer seam of the pant. So cut along this line here because we're going to open the pant up. Cut along that line and I'm going to show you what that looked like. All right, so what I'm doing right here is I'm putting the 2 inch mark here on my ruler. I'm putting it centered where the line is that I cut, and I'm leaving that ruler right there. And then what I'm going to do is just manipulate and adjust this to the 3 or and put that back on the 3. Make sure you don't move the ruler. So I'm gonna put that one on a 3, and then I'm gonna put this one, the line here where that line meets, I'm gonna put that on the 1. And you want to make sure that when you're adjusting it, you're laying it flat. Your pattern will look something like this once it's taped. And then what I do next is I create like a little curve. Putting my, there we go. I'm going to create a curve. And my curve is the same number that I'm lining up with the 2 is the same number I'm going to use on the other side. So I'm going to show you how I'm about to do this. So right now I have it lined up with the 2. I have number 18 lined up with the 2. And I'm going to create my curve and stop at that number 18 like that. And then I'm going to flip this ruler over and do the same thing that I just did. Line that number 18 up. Line the number 18 up, and then making sure my ruler is right. Line it up with 18. And finish off my curve. And that's pretty much how I create the curve. And even though I'm doing this on a small piece of paper, this is the same technique you would use on a larger piece of paper. Now, of course, what will happen is the flare is going to be much wider than just 1 inch, the 1 inches that I used for this small little piece of paper. So once you finish this, you cut it out along the curve that you just created. And the reason why I'm showing you this on this, this is like really bright. Sorry. And the reason why I'm showing you this, make sure you cut along the curve, your new curve that you created. But the reason why I'm showing you this on this paper is because it will be hard for me to try to do it on my software. And yeah, so I figured for the sake of the tutorial, I wanted to show you the steps on creating a flare. So this is the steps, and go ahead and cut out all around. So this is after cutting out the pattern, and then what you want to do is just remove the original one, and then it will give you your new flare cropped pants, high-waisted pants, and this will be your actual finished pattern here. It will look something like this.